Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
This is 7 at 7 from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Good evening. You're watching 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm Carrie Roper. Thank you for joining us for 7 at 7 p.m. on this Tuesday, February 9th. Let's start with your top story, sponsored by Carnegie Heights. Las Vegas police surrounded a suspect after an officer-involved shooting earlier today. James Schaefer has more on this story.
We're at Silverado Ranch and Pollock Road, where Metro is telling us they're responding to a dynamic incident involving an armed and barricaded suspect from a shooting earlier today in the East Las Vegas Valley. Metro Captain SASHA Larkin told us more as the scene was active.
The male at the window of the apartment started to fire rounds again at officers. Officers again returned fire. In 72 hours, the sheriff or his designee will come forward with the rest of the investigative follow-up, and all body-worn camera will be released.
Today's shooting marks the second OIS of the new year. In more news, a survey sent out to families within the Clark County School District found that more than half of young students plan on coming back when the district reopens for hybrid learning on March 1st. Another survey shows many employees plan on doing the same. CCSD plans on bringing back 3/4 of its pre-K through 3rd grade students, and families and teachers have mixed thoughts about that. Under the plan, if more students than teachers return for the hybrid learning model, then the teachers could be required to return as well. However, an updated version of the plan is expected soon. And Nevada will start to see some relief coming in the form of nearly $634 million. The federal aid comes in the second round of pandemic assistance approved in December. A legislative committee formally approved the allocation of all the funds on Monday, with $509 million going to public and private schools. About $125 million is targeted for statewide emergency rental assistance. And a former longtime friend and assistant of the late Tony Hsieh is suing his family for breach of contract. Lawyers for Jennifer Mimi Pham filed a partially redacted lawsuit claiming Hsieh wanted to get into the documentary film industry and asked her to provide certain management services. Pham alleges contracts she had with Hsieh are not being honored after his death in November. Now it's time for your weather, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa. Temperatures dipping from the low 60s into the mid-50s as we move later into the night. Tomorrow we're looking at partly cloudy skies with the sun coming out around noon, with temperatures hitting the low 70s. Looking ahead to the rest of the week, it will look just about the same, with some clouds and highs in the 70s, with the lows hitting the low 40s. But there is a chance that we could see some rain Friday and taking us through the weekend. In your business news, sponsored by the Vegas Chamber, today a new effort is being launched to boost Black homeownership in Southern Nevada. RENEE SUMMEROUR has more.
Carrie, in today's news conference, Las Vegas city and community leaders announced the creation of the Coalition to Make Homes Possible. The goal is to work with real estate brokerage firms and help with services such as down payment aid and financial coaching. Its founding members include the city, the Nevada Housing Division, and the Urban Chamber of Commerce, and others. Here's what some of them had to say about the new initiative.
I can attest to the fact that the Black ownership gap is worse today than it was 50 years ago during the time of segregation. You realize everybody doesn't have that same advantage. And this today recognizes that fact, that we need to do something. And as the mayor said, this is long overdue. The community that I live in, I grew up in, I live in a house that I grew up in. This Bonanza Village was surrounded in the 1940s. And it is a sense of community that we all have that's there. And that comes from generations. Like myself, whose parents have passed, others' parents have passed, and they've moved into their homes, which are located right in Bonanza Village. And we have a little community there.
For more on what the coalition hopes to achieve, log on to lvrj.com. Carrie?
Sports, sponsored by Scenic Brewing Company. With the sports update, I'm Cassie Soto. The Golden Knights are back in action this week and will host the Anaheim Ducks for a second series. The team is still without defenseman Alex Pietrangelo, but some good news came Tuesday when he participated in the Golden Knights' optional morning skate. Pietrangelo has been in the NHL COVID protocols since January 28th.
I don't believe he's an option for tonight. I think after tonight he will be. And it's just based on protocol. This isn't about letting him get up to speed. I think even at half speed, we'd take him in the lineup if he's available.
Now here's the latest in sports betting. Nevada sportsbooks had their lowest Super Bowl betting handle since 2016. The State Gaming Control Board reported that Nevada's 184 sportsbooks took $136.1 million in wagers for this year's Super Bowl. The sportsbooks won $12.6 million from bettors for a win percentage of 9.2. Officials attributed the decline due to the coronavirus pandemic.
In your entertainment news, Motown lost a legend as Supreme's co-founder Mary Wilson died earlier today. Review Journal's John Katzlamidas has more on the projects Wilson had in the works and her connection to another Vegas performer.
At the time of Mary Wilson's death, this Supreme's legend had been working on a few projects, including a new album that she wanted out on March 6th, which would have been her 77th birthday, and also a new single scheduled for April. She was in contact with Frank Marino about a gift that she had tried to send to Frank over the holidays. It was an album titled Time to Move On, and Frank finally received that gift on Monday, hours before he learned that Mary had passed away.
In more entertainment news, Chef Giovanni Moro is bringing his old school pizzeria to 2 new locations, which are expected to open in April and August. Review Journal's Al Mancini tells us about Moro's vision for the future.
Gio came up with the idea for Old School Pizzeria after the last recession that we were facing here in Las Vegas. And what he thought was that at that time, people were struggling. He wanted to bring them a type of food that they could enjoy at, quote, its highest expression without spending a lot of money. And he felt that pizza could really do that.
In your lifestyle news, sponsored by Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the Rock and Roll Marathon Series is set to return to the Strip in February 2022. Organizers made the announcement on Tuesday that when the race returns, it will no longer include its signature 26.2-mile race. Now, this change comes after organizers surveyed participants and found that they preferred the shorter course on the Strip. In your health news, a record-breaking donation from Spirit of Children was presented to UMC Children's Hospital yesterday. Every year, local Spirit Halloween stores raise funds to support Child Life Services. 100% of local donations stay right here in the community. A check in the amount of just over $134,000 was presented to continue to help improve the hospital experience for patients and their families. And we know you're busy, so we've built a newscast to fit your life. 7 at 7 from LVRJ.com. You can also watch us while you're on the move through the RJ mobile app, on your smartphone, and Roku. From the Las Vegas Review Journal, I'm Carrie Roper. Thanks for joining us for tonight's 7 at 7 p.m. And we hope you'll join us again tomorrow morning for 7 at 7 a.m. Have a great night.
Review Journal Studio, sponsored by Adam Kuttner. Get the maximum settlement as quickly as possible. This 7 at 7 update, sponsored by Pro Group Management. You're watching 7 at 7 from the Las Vegas Review Journal.